Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create it every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Rogue Matter and facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts. Download this podcast immediately following the live stream on all major podcasting apps. We are a part of Rogue Matter. Join the movement. Go Rogue, roguematter.com. I'm your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Lord of the Radio himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin, and we are joined especially tonight by request. He requested, so we said, okay. Mr. Steve Hoveke. But that's part.
It's going to be very hard for him to troll us now. Because he's on with us.
Well, this is what I would say.
I gotta log into the Facebook stream
that he requested. We were going to have him on anyway. We're going to have you on to discuss your wonderful new comic book project that's through Rogue Matter. It's on roguematter.com right now, and it's called
MacBryde Grum.
There you go. So we figured, well, as we were talking, we were like, I really want to know Dune. Like, I want to talk Dune. I wish I was on. And they were like, yeah, you could be on. It wasn't too hard to do it. So we just said, let's
make it happen, Captain.
Let's do it.
We called your people, and they talked to our people, and we put together this whole thing.
It was tough. It was tough. It was
a lot of money. Your
Well,
people were hard negotiators.
Aligning those schedules can be difficult. Yeah.
We're like, you're going to be on anyway. Would you like to come on a little bit earlier?
With the difference in time zones and
exactly.
It's really hard to
now,
get that
and
stuff.
the royalty issues and stuff like that.
All this though is that I actually, he'd be like, "Oh man, I wish I could be on earlier," and I was like, "Do you want to be on earlier?" And he's like, "No." Like he's like, "No, I don't want to be on at all." And I was like, "But why would you ask? It's odd. Now you have to be on." Like we grilled him like that. That's right.
Like a cheeseburger.
that last part was actually not factual. All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight.
This last part's a lie.
We are gonna. Does the spice flow? We are going to give our Rogue review.
Spice must flow.
Well,
Here is the mind killer.
We'll go through.
Here is the mind killer.
But first, we're gonna start with a little go rogue or go home, and that includes Mr. Mummy himself, Mr. Brendan Fraser. Is
Mr. Mummy.
Gotham bound, baby. Brendan Fraser will play the villain Adil El Arbi.
Wow.
In Bilal Fallah's Batgirl. The actor is set to play pyro-themed baddie Firefly. Do we know Firefly? Do we know any of this? Like,
I don't know the character.
Yeah, I don't know either, but he's coming back. Now, did you know, fellas, that there was a movement to bring Brendan Fraser back to movies? Like, there was a period of time to where Brendan Fraser had publicly announced that he was depressed because he's not in movies anymore. And because of that, there was a bunch of online campaigns, and now he's like busier than he's ever been.
I'm depressed. I'm not in movies at all. So, start those campaigns going.
All we need is about 40 million people to hear this podcast, and I think we can get you something.
That's only half our number anyway. Let's make this happen.
All right, then.
I'm going to be in movies by next week, according to the way the trends go. Right?
I hope so.
All right, excellent.
I want to see you.
I'll take you guys with me.
Question.
I'll take you guys with me.
Like I said, I know we're supposed to be these gurus. Actually, I don't claim to be a guru.
Neither do
and I
I.
have talked about this, and he's like, "Aren't we supposed to be experts?" I said, "No. We are insiders. As in, we know a lot of people at Marvel. We know a lot of people.
I do
at
not
DC.
believe that is what I said. I asked you, aren't we supposed to be pretending to be experts? I think that's the exact way I put it.
I'm not even pretending to be an expert.
Yeah, that's what vexes me the most. Like, why aren't you even just joking about being like really good at this? But
no. We just know people. That's basically what it comes down to. I think that's and that's fair. I think that's a fair.
Hey man, my lifelong mantra has always been I'd rather be lucky than smart. So, and you know what? It's working.
I would think so.
I was just looking on the DC fandom database about the character Firefly from DC Comics, and apparently it's someone named Garfield Linz. So I don't know what the other name is or what.
That's
other...
not.
No,
it's
Adil
not cool
El
to have
Arbi
someone
and Bilal Fallah are the actual. I think it's a co-directing team.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were giving me the alter ego of the character.
No.
Okay.
No, I thought I was as well, and then as I read it, I realized that it was not the case. Once again, not pretending to be an expert in any way, shape, or form. I can't even be an expert in reading.
I think what I find more interesting about this DC database thing is the fact that they list him as 5'11" and 167 pounds. Doesn't that seem a little thin?
What I will say is Brendan
guy?
Fraser has not aged well. So compared
to
what the character is. Well, I mean, look, in the lower corner, you can actually see a photo of him. And
no, I did see the promo photo that they listed with the can tattoo and all that. And I'm thinking that if he's a pyrotechnics guy, there's a good chance he may have gotten burned once or twice. So maybe there's some, scarring or something on him that's making him look bad.
What I'm hoping is that he will do like the Harrison Ford routine, and like when he gets in the studio, like he'll do like what's his face from Eternals that got really buff. The guy from Silicon Valley.
Kumail Nanjiani?
Yeah.
That guy from Silicon Valley.
Hey, I could have butchered his name. I chose not to.
You should have. All right. Never mind. You're absolutely right.
That's right.
You're absolutely right.
Don't you forget it.
No, I won't.
I'm super excited to see Brendan Fraser back around. I know he's been playing he plays the I don't know Doom Patrol that well, but the robot guy, I know he plays him on Doom Patrol.
Yeah,
but obviously that's not a visible role.
Too.
Yeah, exactly.
And to the point where I'm now, thanks to a friend of the show, David Rosenberg, who recommended it. I bought the Doom Patrol omnibus, and I've been reading that faithfully in spurts because it's just.
Are you going to watch the show afterwards?
Oh, I've been watching the show actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not caught up by any stretch of the imagination. I'm only one season in, but I watch it and it's very enjoyable. But his voice, because of the show, is perfect for as I'm now reading the omnibus. It's like I can hear his
so you
voice.
Hear his voice.
Yeah.
Nice connection.
Yeah, no, it's synergy.
Yes.
Linkitude. This is the next story that I wanted to talk to, and this is one that I think is going to be pretty exciting, especially for Hassan, who is a big prequel nostalgia supporter. Anakin Skywalker is returning. Now, we knew he was already returning in the Obi-Wan series, but obviously it will be, again, I think, Steve, you, the three of us actually talked about how he would return in that, because he's essentially, burned beyond recognition at the point where we're talking about Obi-Wan.
Well, no, it just seems like there has to be a very small window of opportunity for him to return out of shell and fully limbed.
Yeah.
I mean, time frame wise.
Yeah, flashbacks. Well, like Obi-Wan's gonna be stuck on Tatooine, right? He's probably daydreaming. There's a lot of time to reminisce.
I thought it was returning as like a full, like, partial character role, not like something that was a kind of like drop in cameos or something. I mean,
no, I'm just saying the opportunities are endless for what. I mean, if you get the actor to be there, you could do, in a non, explicit way, you could do whatever you want with the actor in the context of character.
And as I mentioned before, since I have not seen a recent picture of Hayden Christensen, I have no idea what his appearance is like.
Looks like Brendan Fraser.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
no,
I guess they will have to. I guess they will have to DH him then.
I have no idea what he looks like. He is Brendan Fraser. Like, that was why he's gone missing for so long. They're actually the same person.
Oh my God. No, Brendan Fraser is a far better actor than Hayden Christensen.
Very true.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's very true, actually.
Although, what's funny is there's a movie that Hayden Christensen is in, is that when it's on, I can't not watch it, and that's
Shattered Glass.
I thought you were going to say
which kind of proves the exception of the rule right there, right?
Doesn't right.
Doesn't everybody get have a good day? Negate
right?
Your comment, huh?
Everybody can have a good day,
But I think,
you haven't proved that yet. So
I mean, that his style of acting. I think it's a case of his style of acting fitting that particular character perfectly, because he's supposed to be this sort of mystery hiding behind an enigma, and you don't know, and the whole thing is a shell. The whole idea of him creating these stories and creating all this, or taking stories and manipulating them with all this kind of false information. So I think that his acting actually kind of worked to his benefit there. I he's not Ryan Phillippe. So, I mean, let's not stretch. But who knows? I think it's good that, anytime you bring an actor back into a classic role like that, i.e. Halloween Kills, as there did with a bunch of the actors in that, I'm all for it. I think bringing original actors back for a new project for something is always positive.
What's interesting is because of the sequel trilogy, and couple that with how well The Mandalorian has managed to kind of correct that, I am actually looking forward. Like, if you were to tell me years ago, like, Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen's coming back, I'd be like, ooh, really? Oh, all right. Yeah. Now I'm kind of like, awesome. And I actually feel like he missed out. Maybe I'll rephrase that. Maybe he dodged a bullet not being in the sequel trilogy. But the fact that he wasn't there, like, it was a notable absence in that last movie. I mean, there was lots of things wrong with that last movie. But one of them, I think, and Hassan, you and I had mentioned, why wouldn't you get him there? Or why wouldn't he be there? Then he was part of, like, the Star Wars celebration, but he wasn't in that movie. Like, what a missed opportunity. So it almost feels like you can kind of correct that, and you're in the hands of Dave Filoni, so how could you go wrong, Well,
let's hope.
You're very short tonight. Are you gushing? Aren't you gushing? Come on.
I'm the same size I always. Look, I don't. First of all, I know better than to get into it with you about the prequels, because you're gonna put a dig in there somewhere, and I'm gonna hang up on you. So that's A. B. I don't know whether or not, like I said, there's a possibility that they could do pretty much anything about it. I have refrained, or I put myself on a moratorium from insulting the last 3 movies. I've said all I was going to say about them. I do not openly insult them anymore.
This was a new insult for me, though. The new insult was I actually missed him in the movie, and I wanted him in the movie.
I hear you. I know, but it's bait, so I'm not taking that bait.
There's nothing bait about it.
It's bait, dude. It's totally bait.
This is what we do. I don't know. We give opinions, and then we go back and forth. So
I mean, look, it would have been kind of okay if he was in it, but I don't know if that would have fixed anything, No,
it absolutely would not have fixed it. It would have been like just going down with the ship, though.
There it is. That's what I'm trying to avoid. The Mandalorian and all the ancillary materials that they're putting out on Disney Plus has reinvigorated my enthusiasm for the whole thing. So I'm sticking with that, and I'm gonna ignore the mistakes of the past. Well, I'm gonna let that lie
too. I mean, I don't think there's any. Why would we not? Like Obi-Wan Kenobi feels like that's going to be. I think they're calling it like a special event series too. They're not even just. It's not even. It's almost like what we thought Loki was going to be. Because I mean, look, you got Ewan McGregor. I mean, he's a big time actor. You got Obi-Wan. You don't. It's not like I'm envisioning a 5-season run for that, right? Rosario Dawson, same thing with Ahsoka Tano, is. Again, these are events, and I almost feel like if Disney does this right, which again you could flip a coin. They're about 50-50 in terms of the Star Wars universe at this point. There's optimism. There's hope. There's something to say that maybe under the guidance of Dave Filoni, this is going to be a Hayden Christensen we haven't seen yet.
Maybe it's a possibility, and it could be a good thing.
Does Ahsoka
speculation
have the tentacles coming out of her head?
Yes. Like Lekos.
Like Darth Talon?
They're called Lekos.
Okay. Right.
See, this is nice.
But they're not the same race,
a kindred
though, right?
spirit with Steve, who does not know the ancillary materials.
But like the dancing girls who are on Jabba's.
They're not the same race.
So they're all different races, but they all have.
Yes. Ahsoka is a Togruta. And the dancing girls, one of whom is a Jedi called Ayla Secura.
And
the other one,
I remember the name.
Those are Twi'leks.
This is not being sarcastic in any way, shape, or form, Hassan. And me prefacing it by saying that is also not sarcasm. I could literally listen to you describe Star Wars universes, like just Star Wars worlds and like creatures within that. Like it would almost, I feel like it would be like a soothing audiobook
Should
that
do
I
like
listen to.
like a Star Wars omnibus audiobook or Star Wars lexicon of all the races and
I would
planets.
not stick my head into that lion's den
And now
for all the money in the world.
We will address
But wait till I
the
start
difference
talking
between
about
Ahsoka
Dune.
Tani and the dancing
Tano.
girl at Jabba.
Tano. Ahsoka Tano.
See, there you go. Exactly. See, already
You
it sounds great.
fool. You're getting us killed. We're getting
we're
destroyed right now.
Our only viewers here on the show. What are we gonna like?
The Star Wars
who are we getting
fandom
killed
is
by?
always watching, my friend. They're a monster.
Again, not only have I said I'm not even pretending to be an expert, but when it comes to Star Wars universe, I'm absolutely not.
I will be honest with you. Your disclaimer means nothing to them. They don't care. If you deign,
why are they not watching our show right now? They should be slamming me right now.
They are watching it, but it's all pirating because they're Star Wars. They're Star Wars fans.
And
Was that a
also,
shot at them? Did you just take a shot at them?
They never do anything on the up and up.
Yeah, you just took a blank shot. I like that. I like how subtle you do it, though. It's all right.
I try to be. You don't want them coming for you. You just don't. Don't.
Too many of them.
Yes, there's quite a few of them.
Before we jump into our Dune discussion, I don't have a graphic for it. In fact, so I'm just showing Dune. Bill Murray in the Marvel Universe that dropped today. Are we excited, gentlemen? Are we excited? Do we at this point just say Marvel can do no wrong and Bill Murray can do no wrong? So two non-wrong.
I'd say a little bit of both of that. But it depends really on what Bill Murray is going to be doing, because it could be. It could be Bill Murray from the 2016 Ghostbusters, or it could be Bill Murray from Zombieland. It depends on which kind of Bill Murray you're going to get.
Or he could be voicing something. Who knows?
Yeah, that too.
As bad as the 2016 Ghostbusters was, Bill Murray was not the reason.
No, but his cameo there was wasted. It was a waste of.
There was a lot of waste in that movie. But.
Right. Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about specifically. Like, let's not make more of it. I'm speaking specifically Bill Murray. Bill Murray you get Bill Murray to be part of your cameo, part of your ensemble in a Ghostbusters movie, and then you misuse him by making him like a landlord or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Versus having him in Zombieland out of nowhere, and he's actually playing Bill Murray.
Yeah.
In that film.
That's a classic.
And he's actually in a significant amount of the film. So there you could get that Bill Murray, or you could get. You could get a flagrant misuse of Bill Murray, like in the Ghostbusters 2016. So it all depends on what kind of Bill Murray you got.
Yeah, I don't think MCU, Feige and company are likely to waste an opportunity to add a blue chip to their library.
Yeah, but so I'm heading Mike off at the pass of asking me to speculate what kind of Bill Murray we're going to get.
No,
you were going to do it.
I can ask you.
It always ends there.
If that news excites you, and you'll say nothing excites me.
Nothing does excite me. I am unexcitable.
It's just good to have a third voice here.
Yes, you can turn to Steve in a moment of utter frustration and panic.
It's like he hosts his own podcast. He knows what
you'd think.
All right, let us know what you think. Comment on the YouTube comment feed. Comment on the Facebook feed. We've got lots of big announcements and changes coming up. We are going to discuss Dune next, but first, I want to let everyone in on a little Rogue Matter giveaway. Rogue Matter is excited to launch another giveaway supporting Rogue artists. If you are a sneaker aficionado, then you're going to love this one. One lucky winner will win a custom pair of artistic sneakers designed by Rogue artist Elijah Rutland over at @FitMySoul on Instagram. If you go check out his profile, you'll see his many amazing creative designs from custom art to comics. He is amazing.
Is it SOLE or SOUL?
And it is SOLE. So FITMYSOLE. However, you can go over to roguematter.com, fill out the giveaway form on the front page, and you will be entered to win these sneakers. I'm displaying it right now. There they go. Go to the website, and you'll be able to see it. And here are the wonderful sneakers themselves, which I think are pretty awesome. No, there's no question about it. So Check it out. Find him on social media. And Rogue Matter, that's what we do. We're all about finding and supporting rogue artists. Elijah is definitely a true rogue to us. When we come back, we're going to talk Dune. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, talking Dune right now. We've got a Rogue review. Obviously, Dune dropped last week to pretty impressive box office numbers, especially considering HBO once again cannibalized their own numbers by debuting it also on HBO Max. However, it also, at the time that I snagged this article, scored more viewers than Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's doing both well in theaters and it's doing well on HBO Max. The reviews for Dune have been extremely positive, with some calling the film a masterpiece. Given the reported price tag of $165 million, however, they were worried that Part 2 wouldn't be a guarantee. However, it was announced today that there will indeed be a Part 2.
Yes,
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
You don't think
you
so?
don't buy what?
I don't buy that they weren't planning on doing a Part 2. Like, it was all contingent on the money.
I think they held on to it until to the release in order to help propel views and continued viewing of the film. I agree.
Right. Because I mean, you don't just like, pull a rabbit out of the hat and just come up with exactly 2 years, and on this particular date we will premiere the next movie. It just doesn't work that way. So it's a little too quick, but I don't mind. It's fine. If you're going to pull that kind of gimmickry, that's the kind of gimmickry I'd like you to pull.
Yes.
So it's like, wait, we'll get it sooner than we speculated getting it. That's okay with me. I
guess we said, 2023?
Yeah. 2 years.
Yeah.
Same average between the Star Wars episodes, or most of your Marvel movies,
which is a year less than the original Star Wars films.
Correct.
Period.
That is true. Which is agonizing, to be honest with you. Even when I was a kid, I remember how agonizing that was.
Full disclosure for you gentlemen. Not only did I watch the full movie on HBO Max, but I watched part of it, the beginning part, on my phone. And I know, sacrilege.
Did you watch it fully on HBO Max on your TV first?
No. I have no time for that. I was like, I got to get into this. It was a little slow at first. So I actually did 20 minutes on TV, then 20 minutes on the phone in a separate viewing. And then I did, from that separate viewing, I went right upstairs to my TV after like 20, 25 minutes of watching it on my phone, went to the TV and just finished it out. So really in 2 sessions, 2 different methods. And as I've said in the past, if you're going to stream it, if you're going to put these movies on streaming services, I get to watch them any which way I want to, and I make no apologies for it.
Hassan, how many times have you watched it?
I've only seen it once.
Really?
Oh, because I'm going
twice.
I'm going to see it in the theater, so I'm not going to watch it so many times that I'm desensitized to it by the time I see it in the enormity of the IMAX, whatever.
I found that anything I see on an IMAX screen, it doesn't matter what I've seen it before or not, it's still always just so kind of all encompassing and just sort of massive that it's impressive whenever I see it. So
look, I will admit that I was a little afraid of the film when just to sit down and watch it. It came out, I had it had leaked online and various sites, stuff like that, about maybe a week before the film.
Sure.
And I didn't watch any of those. And then it of course it premiered Thursday night, so it was available from, I think, about something like 12 midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning, Thursday or Friday morning, all the way into, and I didn't watch it until sometime into Friday afternoon, even though I wasn't watching anything else. I wasn't pressed to watch anything else. So I was just being I was very cautiously optimistic about it. I was excited about it, but I didn't want to.
Whoa. What did you just use the E word?
Yeah.
You were excited for it.
I'm not visibly excited about anything.
Sorry.
I was very, let's not use excited. I was enthusiastic about it. You know, I like the thing I'm happiest about is that in spite of my love for the David Lynch version, this didn't, I didn't watch this with a scrutinizing glare, to see if it could match. I was resigned to the fact that there were going to be aspects about the David Lynch version that they were never going to match. And then there was going to be a lot of things about this movie that were going to surpass the David Lynch version. And it's exactly what happened. And I'm happy I was able to watch it without any kind of chip on my shoulder, anything like that. The book is a monster. It's really difficult to adapt. It's a lot of people have said it's difficult to read because it's written in an old-fashioned omniscient style. So there are very few point of view characters, and there are several hundred point of view characters, but they all have their point of view at almost the same time. It's a very old style. It's like pre-Dickens kind of style of writing. So it bugs a lot of people. It's a very difficult book. So there was a very good chance it's going to be a disaster. Or it was going to be so dumbed down, it was going to be so minimal that it would look really good, but it would be soulless in its own way. So I know Villeneuve's work is not typically soulless, but he does have a very minimalist approach to things, and he's very all his stuff is very subdued, and a
little cold.
Cold. I would definitely. That's excellent. And not so much stiff, but as the word that keeps coming to mind is the wrong word, but it's slow. Like he's very methodical about how he's gonna explain things. He's gonna tell things to you. So in some ways he's perfect for Dune, but in other ways you could get lost in the weeds a lot. And I have some fans of the book. And fans of the Lynch movie who just absolutely disliked all the stuff that was quote unquote dumbed down. So I mean, you're not going to please everybody, but I mean, it was. I thought it was amazing. So
I gotta be honest, my initial take,
in spite of the fact that I somehow managed to avoid watching it on my phone. I don't know how I did that, but
that's terrible.
I managed to do that.
This is democratize the process.
I deprived myself of that pleasure.
You kind of hit a nail too for me. So I don't know anything about both the David Lynch movie or the book. I was never a Dune fan. I know I'd heard rumors of Dune. I'd heard rumblings of Dune, but it was never something that I was immediately drawn to as a Ute. Nor later on in life. I did manage to see a still shot of the movie. Apparently, someone's holding a pug while screaming. It's pretty.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Sorry, Patrick Stewart. Right, exactly. Patrick Stewart was holding a pug, and I saw that on Facebook. That was
the Atreides pug is an important aspect of that film.
Yeah, but it makes for a great meme. Either way.
Yeah.
So. But what I managed to get out of this version, and this is a huge, in its favor moment for me, is the fact that I could tell that it is a dense story. I mean, it's got a Game of Thrones like rich history, or Lord of the Rings like rich history. You can tell the weight of how much history it has and how much backstory, and you can only imagine what it must have been like to read that book. Or to write that book, right? But they managed to tell it in a way, Villeneuve managed to tell it in a way that was not dumbed down, but just very concise. There is this race of beings on this planet terrorizing this race of beings. They leave because the Emperor tells them to leave. This other race of beings now comes in. A race that left, very upset, have to come back. I mean, in fact, the plot summary kind of says it, and it's very succinct. Set in the distant future, Dune tells the story of Paul Atreides, Atreides, whose family accepts control of the desert planet Arrakis as the only producer of a highly valuable resource. Control of Arrakis is highly contested among the noble families. After Paul and his family are betrayed, the story explores themes of politics, religion, and man's relationship to nature as Paul leads a rebellion to restore his family's control of Arrakis. That's the synopsis.
Not quite correct, but okay.
What's that?
It's not quite correct, but okay.
All right, well, that was the official synopsis.
That's fine. I mean, it's not. They're not only are they dumbing it down, but they're misleading and probably doing it on purpose. But that comes from a knowledge of the story. Sure. That's not. It's not wrong. It's just not 100% correct.
Sure, and that's the thing. So they were able to tell most of that synopsis very quickly, to a point where look, beginnings of movies can be slow if there's important information everyone needs to know. Obviously, there was a lot of important information I needed to know, being a complete newbie for this. But they managed to do it in a way that was palatable.
What's kind of funny though? There are scenes in this movie that are not in the David Lynch movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So theoretically, there's more stuff in this movie than the David Lynch movie. It's not so whereas it is, some of the dialogue is simplified, but extensively, and there is no inner monologue of any of the characters, which is a big criticism of the original film. In other words, you can hear what they're thinking. Sure, yeah, you have voiceovers of people what they're thinking. There are things that are only in the 3-hour Alan Smithy cut of the original Dune that actually do show up in the Denis Villeneuve version. So there's actually more stuff in this movie than in the David Lynch film. In spite of the fact that the David Lynch film is the whole book, theoretically, and this movie is only half of the book.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird thing. I think one of the things that get me is that when you watch it, you're like, this is pretty much beat for beat the original film, with the exception of some scenes, some components in it that were thrown in for exposition, that are in the David Lynch film that are not in this. But from pretty much after the first 10 minutes of the David Lynch film, everything in this film and that is comparable to that film, almost beat for beat. So the fact that people say I understand this better than the David Lynch version is a little probably disingenuous. It's probably watching it with contemporary eyes, because there's really not that much more exposition in this, clarity of exposition in this, than there is in the David Lynch version. The unfortunate thing, and this is why you should probably from here on in speak to Steve about it, is because I am such a fanatic about the book. I can't honestly tell you whether or not this is a more palatable version for casual fans.
Sure.
Because I'm only watching it for, is everything that I need in this story, is everything I need to be adapted from that book in this story. And that's the extent of it. It's kind of like the book readers of Game of Thrones versus people who are just watching it for the TV show. So it is what it is. Like I said, I think it's great, but I'd be interested to hear what was so confusing about the David Lynch version that is seemingly not confusing about this version.
Again, and Steve, I'm going to ask you where you fall in this conversation in 1 second. I've never seen the David Lynch version, so I couldn't even tell you. I'm saying as a Dune newbie, someone coming into this completely with no knowledge, but hearing that it is a complicated story, knowing the history of this getting to screen once and then getting to screen again, I didn't have any problems with it. Steve, where do you fall in your Dune knowledge? Were you a fan of the book, fan of the David Lynch film, or a complete new like?
So when I was a kid, I gobbled up everything science fiction wise as far as books go. I read the original 4 of 6 the Dune books. I read through God Emperor. I stopped there because God Emperor was work getting through, but I made it and I felt that I'd completed him and then it was a number of years when the other books started coming out. So I am a tremendous fan of the Dune story. I loved the first book. And it was really interesting because I found myself thinking while I was watching this new version and finding myself, I was watched it. First of all, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's as visually arresting as you would expect a Denis Villeneuve movie to be, or adaptation of this to be. It's literally, if you could think of, if you've seen his other movies and you know what visually he is capable of, and you imagine him doing Dune, and Dune, you're going to walk out of that theater and go, I got exactly what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
He delivers exactly what you want him to deliver. Now, what I had more questions about was, I've seen the David Lynch film multiple times. I've read the book once a long time ago. The thing I found most interesting watching it was I was trying to figure out is, like in your particular case, how someone with no knowledge of that world
mm-hmm.
is able to absorb everything coming at them cold, because I'm watching the movie, my brain's automatically filling in the gaps,
mm-hmm.
or my brain already knows who everybody is,
mm-hmm.
who the players are, where they're from, the relationship between the families. So I can sit back and I can throw the popcorn in my mouth and just enjoy visually soaking this version in.
No,
but
it's not, again, he pulled it off. It's a very easy to understand movie, and that's what I think. Obviously, look, there's some stuff, with the Messiah. Is he a Messiah or not? Is he going to his visions? What do they mean? Some of them sort of come true, some of them don't come true in the way that he sees them. Spoilers, everybody, if you haven't seen the movie, but it's on HBO Max. You can watch it on your phone. The scene where he's holding up his hand to the rock right before he's about to do
mm-hmm.
the death duel, to me, I do have questions. Is that him seeing the future, a potential future, and being able to avoid it because of it? That's how I took it. Or is it just that was a vision that came to him, and that's again a possible or a possible outcome? I don't know. Again, I took it as him being able to kind of see one potential outcome, and therefore being able to avoid it. Visions of Zendaya, the vision, and actually go back to the death duel itself. That character that he duels, his visions earlier, again, kind of speak that he is going to engage this
and be helpful. Correct.
Right, like he's going to engage, and this guy's going to help him, and I guess in a way maybe he did, but it just not.
He ends up helping him, but it's going to be. It's very esoteric in the sense that he learns that what the guy ends up helping him with, and it's not really a spoiler because we've already seen what happened.
Yeah.
What the guy ends up helping him with is understanding the depth of what it costs to use the power that he used in order to beat him in the duel, right? And then that's also the first person he kills.
Yep.
In something that's going to, no spoiler because it's already promised you that, something that's going to be a crusade that he's going to launch, in which case he's going to be the first of quite a few people who are going to be killed.
Sure. And we see that in the visions too. He sees himself.
Yeah, but to answer your question, the comment he made in the beginning of the film to the Reverend Mother, where she says, "Do the visions that you see come true?" And he says, "Some of them."
Yeah.
And then she says, "Well, you need to learn some more," right? So she's already telling him, if you're seeing visions that don't actually match up, then you're still not where you need to be.
Right.
In order to, you still haven't come of age into your fullness.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that is like his mismatch or unreliable visions are just indicative of him not being. It's the same as Luke not being able to lift a rock. It's just he's not there yet.
Yeah.
And that's that's what he ends up learning from the guy. Also, like there's other stuff. I won't get into spoilers, but that there's ripple effects from that duel that if they decide to go through it, because they might not. But even the Kyle MacLachlan version sort of did that. Sort of explain like the ramifications of doing that, but they didn't really go into depth of it either. It really is more in the book, so I won't bore you with that stuff, but he does end up learning a lot from Jameis. Is another very popular, a very famous character in the book, for that scene alone, just because he got killed. Who he was and
right,
where he was when he died was important in the journey of this particular character.
I did find it interesting to hear that people think that this version, I mean, I could understand, I guess, for people saying that this version makes things more clear than the Lynch version does, because I mean, you're spending 2.5 hours, which is longer than the theatrical release of the original Lynch film, and only slightly shorter than the Lynch extended version, the Smithy cut. But like you said, the Smithy cut, I mean, it's still telling the entire story, and this is still giving you half in almost the same amount of time. Right. So I can understand why people think this one makes more sense. I mean, that, and I think the delivery method, I think that the Lynch version, the delivery, there's just so much going on, and it kind of bombards you if you don't know the story. And I think that he gives you everything you need, but people who know the material are going to more easily soak all of it in and kind of parse it all where it belongs, as opposed to, again, someone coming in cold. And I think that this new version gives you all the same material, but it gives you it at a much better pace, at a pace that maybe is more acceptable to more people are receptive to.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's funny you mentioned and Hassan, you mentioned it too. This is a part 1, and there's no, deception behind it. I mean, it's Dune part 1, right off the bat. The filmmaker's letting you know this is a part 1. Yeah. This is probably where my criticisms of the film come in, and it's not a criticism necessarily of the film, but it's the way it went about executing this particular film in terms of splitting it up into part 1 and part 2. Now, I keep thinking back to like Quantum of Solace. To me, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace pick up exactly where, Quantum of Solace picks up exactly where Casino Royale left off. And to me, it threw me watching it because so much time had passed. Now, I know 2 years is a standard film passing in terms of Marvel films. I think, in the production meeting, we were talking about a number of films that, Lord of the Rings was even 3 years apart. The Star Wars films are 3 years apart. So why would 2 years make a difference? This particular film, though, unlike some of the ones that I just mentioned, I think fails to leave me feeling as if I had just consumed a finished full meal, and then there's a natural breaking point. The point of the film where I get very into it is when he's escaping, and I feel because he foreshadows Zendaya constantly in this film, the point where he finally meets her is not a resolution. It's almost, and I use this with Hassan in our production meeting. It felt like Attack of the Clones almost. It felt like, okay, great, this movie's really going. Like, I could have sat through another hour of this film right now and felt I would have gotten a more beginning, middle, and end, whereas I felt by the time this film ended, I was into it, so that's great. Yeah, I want to see the next part. But it didn't leave me saying, boy, well, I got a full meal out of this one as well. I felt not. I don't think it. I think it did itself a disservice in that sense.
I think that's more of a case of the victim of the source material and how it's laid out and paced as far as its story goes. Because I think that with the original story, all that exposition, all that explanation, everything is up front. And in the back end of this movie there's a lot more stuff happening, a lot more action sequences, a lot more stuff to come. But I think that without either time jumping or altering the storytelling method in a way that I think would really have thrown off Dune fans.
Sure.
I don't think that you could have really messed with the storytelling and getting to where you got to in this first piece And I think that they found a good spot to stop. I think this is a good place.
And that's the thing. It could be. Yeah, it could completely work out to the point where I watch part 2. I fully remember enough of part 1. Because that's what happened with Quantum of Solace. We ended up going. My dad and I went to the theaters, and we're like, "Okay,
yeah." But you'll be able to see this on. This will be online and streaming.
He has a React for it. So
okay, all right.
Yes, but now you're asking me to do more homework, and what I would sit there and say is,
is it homework if you're entertained though? Is it like, I don't understand the idea that it's homework if it's something that is entertaining you. Like, if you're about to put money down on seeing the sequel, why would it be a chore to rewatch the original?
Maybe I have time to do it, and maybe I don't. I mean, that's
maybe you just need to make sure you remember everything.
Well, about the first one. You know what? And that's what we'll see. We'll see if I do by that point. And like, put it this way: Avengers Infinity War, again, it gave me a beginning, middle, and end with a cliffhanger. We used Force Awakens as an example too. That was a beginning, middle, and end with a cliffhanger. So I walked away from there.
But I mean, here's the thing: you did in this film receive a beginning, and a middle, and an end.
You did,
because the film explains to you in the beginning what's going to happen. It tells you what's happening. It tells you we're going to go from this place into this next place, and the next place we're going to go into is going to be really dangerous, and we may or may not be able to hold on to it. And we think there's something up, but we don't know exactly what's up. And we just have to keep our eyes open and maintain our vigilance. And the exact thing that they are worried is going to happen actually does happen. They end up losing. They end up getting attacked in a sneak attack. And most of them get wiped out, except for various key characters that managed to get away, and they're gonna, they're going off into the desert at the end of this to, theoretically get their revenge in the next movie. That's a beginning, and a middle, and an end from a wing of the story. That's a first act, and if you know a story is going to be broken up into 2 pieces, and there's going to be another part to it, then obviously the second part of the best of both worlds is going to explain to you how the Federation beats the Borg.
It could be pulled off in a way where it's seamless, even with the gap of time in between. But my feeling emotionally, and I think I framed it this way: you can explain it to me, and my head can get it, but my eyes and my emotions after seeing this was not the same as other part 1s. And again, I think Infinity War is a great example of that. I felt after the part 1 of Infinity War, there was a more definitive stopping point. Whereas in this film, again, I think it's because they tease Zendaya and her character so much to the point where just meeting wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's break right now. The battle sequence, again, maybe that's a testament to this film as well, too, is that I'm sitting there saying, I want more. Attack of the Clones is a memorable experience for me because unlike this film, which was great and handled great, the first 2 hours of Attack of the Clones, it was tough to get through. And then you have the sequence at the end where Yoda is battling and they get in, there's an actual clone war, and I remember this to this day. I'm like with my friends, and I'm like, oh, hold me back. Like, we're going to finally, oh my God, thank God I sat through 2 hours of Hayden Christensen's bad acting to get to this moment where now we can do it. And then the credits roll, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Shouldn't have seen the third one then.
Not to the same extent in this sense. Well, because it's Star Wars. Not to the same extent where I was miserable the first 2 hours of this movie. I wasn't. I was enthralled.
What are you trying to say then? What are you getting at then?
I'm saying,
like, what's the? I mean, is that how you felt about it? Do you feel like you're not going to be able to be, you feel like you're not going to be able to follow it for the next film? Because I'm got to tell you, what's about to happen in the next film, that's going to be the test of Villeneuve, because this was the easy part of the story.
Oh, okay.
It's not. If he gets through the next, everybody's giving him credit about being clear, but this is the most coherent part of the story. Once he gets out into the deep desert, it starts to get really 1965. Okay, so
Is he going to have all of the female characters pose like a shot?
I don't know if you should. I don't know if you should bother watching the next one if you're not going to be able to maintain any of the information that you got out of this.
I would actually argue, and this is to your point, Hassan, I would actually argue that your problem with this first half, Mike, is actually on you. Mm-hmm. I think because you know that a second half well, I would just say because you went in knowing this is a first movie, and that there is a second part. Like if you went into this and it had just said Dune on the title card and you didn't know that there was a second movie coming.
Well, then that's where I would want to disagree with you, because he puts it on the title card. So I mean,
I understand.
By doing that, I mean, there's no other reaction I can have. So there is, that's.
Well, I mean, if that's how you feel, then I get what you're saying. But obviously. I don't know. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong or to say obviously it's not happening because everybody loves it. I'm not going to give you one of those really weak arguments like that. But I understand what you're saying, but I don't know how it can be avoided.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah. A lot of movies have to take a hiatus. I mean, all the Lord of the Rings movies kind of had a stop, an abrupt stop, and then a start again.
Yep.
And then, of course, with them, you only had to wait a year, but it's still. It doesn't matter. I mean, you still have to wait. Like a wait is a wait, and you still have to be up on what you saw previously because there's no prologue, there's no epilogue or anything like that. There's no preview to catch you up on what you just missed if you didn't see the Fellowship of the Ring,
sure,
or if you didn't see the Two Towers. So I mean, like the end of the Desolation of Smog or whatever ends with him about to burn a village, and it cuts the credits. It ends with a giant dragon about to kill
flying in
a whole bunch of people, and then it cuts, and then you have to come back in a year. Nice knowing you
next Christmas.
So you know what's great about that though, and this will lead us into the final question that I had. Would this have been better served as a TV series? Now, Villeneuve's own comment on this is that would be like sailing a ship in a bathtub, because he's just against the medium of TV. But
and that's his
own personal peccadillo.
That's the thing. So that's why I opened the question to you guys.
Possibilities.
Would this work as a TV show? And
it's already worked as a TV show. So I mean, I can understand him not wanting to retread that ground because everybody's forgetting about the miniseries,
right?
The Lord of the Dune miniseries that came out. Was highly successful. That was highly appreciated to such a point that the Sci-Fi Channel commissioned a sequel to it. So there was they actually did adapt, and
they went further.
It's the only people who ever tried to tackle this material who adapted beyond the book of Dune, and went on to adapt, ironically, the next two books in the second miniseries. Which is an unbelievable accomplishment.
Well,
and they were pretty spot on, actually, if you know those books as well. So, I mean, I see Villeneuve's point about. I mean, I understand like Steve said, those are his peccadillos about whether TV. He wants to be he's a movie director. Yeah. He wants to make epics. He wants big movies.
Right.
I think television can be just as big as movies now, and there are a lot of television shows that have proved it.
Right.
But if he wants to, he's also using the MCU formula where you can do a mini series with movies nowadays, and that's basically what he wants to explore, and he can do $100 million episodes instead of $5 million episodes, which is big for television.
Did you see the comment by Denis Villeneuve after they made the announcement about the greenlighting part 2 that he actually sees this as a trilogy?
He's gonna do, but he only wants to stop at Messiah.
He wants to stop at Messiah,
which is weird, but okay.
Well, that's the time jump between the end of Dune, Messiah, and Children of Dune is massive.
Yeah, well, only 12 years.
Is it only 12 years?
Children between Messiah and Children of Dune is about 20 years, but no, 15, about 15 years, because it's Children of 15.
Right.
So
I was thinking Children of God Emperor.
Yeah, Children of Dune and God Emperor is 3,500 years. So that's different. Yeah. So
yes. Good
but
point.
I mean, the way he could have done a trilogy. It would have been great as a trilogy of the first 3 books. But since we broke this movie up, and we don't know whether or not he's going to opt to break the second book up, which is a smaller book, which is like smaller in event than it's. I think it's the same. It's about 300 pages, so it's smaller in event and smaller in pages. But he might not have to break that book up. But if he decides to break that book into 2 pieces, then we're gonna have 4 movies and only 2 books adapted. So
Mike, do you find time to read? Do you make time to read?
If it ain't got pictures.
He's so proud of it.
If it doesn't have pictures, you read it.
If it ain't got pictures, I ain't reading it.
Okay. All right. Never mind that.
I make comics for a living.
I understand. I understand that. I understand.
There you see. You see what you just did, Steve? Where you said never mind,
but I still do it. But
you see how you said never mind? That's like my attitude 90% of the time taking the second chair.
I've basically broken Hassan into a
I'm not even asking questions like
that.
On
most weeks, he just kind of sits there. I literally couldn't just use the shot of Hassan that I have canned. That is a screenshot of him. I don't think anyone would notice.
Right.
I would just be talking, and then eventually I could just use it. I could probably just use sound bites from previous episodes. No one would know. No,
not for nothing. Not for nothing, but my friends would notice.
That's true.
I don't think
they comment extensively on the show.
I don't think they would. I think they would literally be like, "Wow, Hassan, that was your best show ever."
You don't know my friends. Oh, they've told me that.
Well, what do you guys think?
Don't you worry.
Jump in, talk to us about Dune. We're on YouTube and Facebook. But coming up next, we have a very special guest. We're bringing him on to talk all about his brand new comic book that's on roguematter.com. It's our Rogue Report with Steve Hoveke.
Oh, that guy.
He's going to go from
without
podcast
headphones.
Commentator to creative when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Now, Steve, we get to switch you from guest commentator to spotlight.
Ooh, spotlight! Oh,
you go from flexing your podcasting skills to flexing your creative interviewee skills.
Interesting. Okay.
So, you are the creator of MacBryde. What's that?
Ask me whatever you want.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will.
How many McRibs have you had in the last?
I didn't even know they were back until 15 minutes ago. So I think I better run out as soon as possible.
Ditch the interview. I'll be right back, guys.
I think we all should at this
point. I'll be back shortly.
When we return. So MacBryde and Grum issue 1 is available right now to read for free on roguematter.com. So just go there and you'll...
What? You're not charging money for it?
No. Everything on Rogue Matter is free. Digital. And we have a nice little digital e-reader to go along with it. Angus MacBryde has seen some things in his life, dark things. However, when he decides to get into the PI business with his partner, who just so happens to be a nearly 7-foot-tall ogre, things are bound to get a little crazier than you might expect. That is the synopsis of MacBryde and Grum, and issue 1 specifically. MacBryde Investigations gets called into a family dispute. Of course, not the typical kind. That would be too simple. Let's start with the overall concept. Where did it come from? And it has a very Hellboy-ish tint to it, but in like a refreshingly surprising way. Was that the main influence, or where did this come from?
I have been a tremendous fan of the sort of paranormal detective idea for ages. I love that stuff. I was reading Constantine, the old DC Vertigo comic from the beginning. Well, before it was Vertigo. I read the entire run of Constantine. That was always like the biggest influence on me. I mean, Hellboy falls into that. Dresden Files falls into that. I love the idea of the occult practitioner, or, part-time practitioner being also, using those powers as a private detective, and being able to access that stuff. And he's kind of like not your last line of defense, but he's the kind of guy you go to when you're just kind of out of ideas and you need to go access something that's a little unbelievable, maybe. So that's kind of where all that comes from. My love of the occult detective kind of genre.
Well, I like that too. There is very specific references to the type of, in the issue one specifically, to the type of spells that were being used. And so it feels like there's a rich backstory without having to be very, it's not over explained in any way. It's very, you can just pick it up that there's things in this world that we're excited to see. And you can also see that in the way the two of them banter. How fleshed out in your mind is this backstory, and is this going to be the inspiration for other issues coming up?
Well, I'll be 100% honest with you. When I wrote this, I literally wrote this cold, and there was no backstory. There's, other than a really, really rough idea that I had just kind of like thrown out. And all the stuff that's in the story, I literally made up on the fly with no backstory. I was just literally just creating. And I didn't have any expectation of going forward with this as a regular thing. I did this as kind of a one-off for fun with my buddy Mike, and we just kind of, it's funny. The book got made, and then it sat. I went back to work full time, and it sat in a drawer for about 5 or 6 years, and it wasn't until I hooked up with you and the folks over at Rogue Matter, and I said, hey, I got this thing that's kind of sitting done that I've never gotten around to actually printing. See if you guys are interested in it. So, and you guys have, loved it. But since then, yes, there has been a lot of work put into kind of building out that world, the relationship, where Grum comes from, where hopefully they're going, and a lot of new adventures kind of potentially on the horizon. So
unlike a lot of famous duos, let's say like Falcon and Winter Soldier, most recently Hassan and I every week, these guys seem to get along, and the banter is one that it's not contentious, it's very supportive, which again I find to be very refreshing. I found a lot of the stuff, there was a lot of similarity to what you kind of like, the world you're touching, but unique. Like you managed to put a spin on it, and one of those was the banter between the two of them, and the fact that they seem to be very supportive. What was that? Was that intentional? How did you go into creating that?
Yeah, I've always been, good or bad, a fan of the buddy movie. I think that there's a extremely wide range of that relationship, like you said, that goes from antagonistic to protagonistic, and it can kind of land anywhere between. And sometimes those movies or those stories are about the journey from one to the other. Sometimes a movie starts off one way and finishes up the other way. Sometimes the flip side. I found that, at least in this first issue, I wanted that relationship to be just a couple of old buddies who are basically just doing a job, and they've worked together for a while. They know each other's little things. They can nudge each other in the ribs every so often just for fun. And it's a comfortable relationship, and they both trust each other with their lives. I mean, that's a key part of it. Yeah.
No, yeah, and you get that sense, again, in a 22-page comic right off the bat. That's the thing. I definitely am challenged as a writer to do, is those first issues are really tough. I almost sit there and say, boy, it would be great to just have written a whole bunch of stuff prior to whatever the first thing I actually release, so that it would almost feel like, boy, this is the shared history part is already there. And you managed to do that in the first issue. Not an easy feat.
Well, I would almost say it's now tougher having done that in the first issue, because now I have a bar that sort of exists, and I have to make sure that whatever I do going forward is at least at that level quality wise, because I don't want to go into and write a second issue and now it's like, everything kind of feels forced now, or like it's, so I find it actually, it's as as weird as it sounds, it's actually tougher to be successful on your first book than to build something over time. Because, you feel like as I write, I'm going to become better and I'm going to grow and everything. And so you put out your first thing and it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. And you're like, okay, now I have to make sure that everything I do is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why we
know anything about what you're talking about.
We give the Van Helsing expectation chart on our
What are you talking about, Hassan? Valcadia one was brilliant.
I've been spending the next 10 years trying to live up to that one moment.
Oh man.
Go ahead.
As a self-proclaimed horror and occult fan, what are we looking forward to in the future issues in terms of like what elements of that would you hope to be able to do?
Well, I mean, in talking with our editors about kind of direction and world building, and we really want to lay out a solid background to Grum and where he comes from and how he exists in our world without people really kind of flipping out when they see him. Because I laid out. I didn't really give a whole lot of instances in the first issue because it happens mostly in the middle of the night. So there's not a lot of public around or kind of, scenes involving the public at all. But you'll find in the second issue that there actually is scenes during the daytime. Grum's out walking about and, people don't freak out because there's basically a thing in place so that when Grum is out and around, he appears to most people as just like a big dude,
So it's MacBryde and Hassan.
Yeah, well, it looks like it would be like you walking around with Tyler Mane.
There you go. See, Hassan, I compared you to Tyler Mane.
There you go.
It's a big win.
I can't hear you, Mike.
Real quick before we direct folks to the website. You are also, in addition to writing this book, you've got a great podcast as well with a sometimes. No, I won't even insult Hassan. He's great on the show. With a wonderful co-host as well too. And you also have some other stuff that you do as well. So you were out and about. Why don't you give the audience a brief, where they can find, all the other stuff that you're doing and what the other stuff is.
Well, we Hassan and myself and another friend of mine, Latham Conger III, do a podcast called Sentimental. That is available everywhere you can look on social media or Facebook or anything else under Sentimental Pod. And basically, it's just a semi-regular show that it covers. We have guests on and we talk about their favorite movies. We just, they pick movies, we watch them, and then we discuss them with them. Sometimes we've seen them and love them. Sometimes we've seen them and not so good. So it just really depends on the movie. But the guests are always usually pretty good about it. So we do that. I also run up a publishing company called Printed in Blood. We publish art book collections of essentially, as much as I dislike the term, the best way to describe it in an easy way is fan art, based upon pop culture IP to movies and TV. This was the impetus for the entire kind of company was this original image by Dan Panosian.
Awesome.
That he did for us for The Thing. And then, we've done books based on Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, Firefly. We've got we've got a new book based on aliens coming out in December from Titan Books. And we've got Hannibal and Halloween coming probably very early next year.
All right. Awesome. Where can people find you online?
You know what? It's real easy to find me. It's S. Hoveke everywhere. I've been using that since the dawn of social media and the dawn of the internet. It's just at S. Hoveke, no matter where you go, or at Printed in Blood, or at Sentimental Pod. They're all me. They all come to me.
Spell Hoveke for everybody, because it's not.
It's I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Shoveke. Real simple. Shoveke.
He's got it. Got it down pat. All right, right now, go to roguematter.com. Click on comics. You'll see MacBryde and Grum. Go read the first issue. It's free. Everything on roguematter.com is free to read and enjoy. You can't download it. That's the one caveat, but you can read it all on the website.
And make
Steve
sure,
Hoveke.
Can you comment there?
Yeah, we're building that in as well too. Pretty
okay. And if you can't, just you know what? Send me an email with a comment. Tell me if you like it. Tell me if you hate it.
At S Hoveke. See, it's very simple.
There you go.
Super simple.
All wraps together.
It's the future.
It all comes together.
Anyone.
Super nice. All right, when we come back, we will put a bow on tonight's episode. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. I want to thank our guest, Steve Hoveke, who's right there. He's still here. He never left. Go check out
I'm everywhere you want to be.
What's that?
I'm everywhere you want to be.
This is very true. This is very true. Go check out MacBryde Grum. It's awesome. Go check out Dune too. It's awesome as well too, and I'm allowed to watch it any which way I want to. That is the consensus we've come to on tonight's show. Next week, we've got a look into Eternals a little bit. The social media embargo's gone. We're getting a lot of mixed reviews. We're going to look ahead to that, and we've got a great guest as well, Catherine O'Day, who is a voice actress, and she is campaigning hard to be the voice of Spider-Gwen in the next into the multiverse madness that is the Spider-Man animated universe. We will see you guys next week. Rogue Wave.